So let's jump straight into Replit. I'm going to show you how to begin vibe coding using this awesome tool created by Amjad. Let's jump straight in. Type in replit.com and it'll take you to Replit. What you want to do at this point is hit sign up on the right hand side over here. And then it'll take you to a screen where you can either sign up with Google or GitHub or X. Let's hit continue with Google. After hitting continue with Google, it asks you to put in your username. So you can go ahead and put in your username and all that good information. When you've put in all that information, you could choose whether to be dark or light in terms of the theme. I'm going to leave it with light and just hit continue. What brings you to Replit? Work projects. Enter all of this information. And you could choose to be under the free plan, the $25 plan or the $40 plan. I'm just going to hit continue with starter. You'll be limited though, but let's go ahead and hit continue with starter. Now we're in here. The question is, what do you want to make? I'll also say that as you get into this tool, you might want to get an add-on for Chrome where you can speak as opposed to type. I find it a lot more efficient. So I'm going to turn on my mic. The microphone that I've found to be most efficient is the voice typer. So let's go ahead and I'm going to add this to my Chrome by clicking on add to Chrome. And when you get back into Replit, you should be good to go. Just do a refresh, go to your extensions, and that's it. Voice typer right there. I want to develop an app to help track my rehearsal on the piano, singing, and music making. It should be a simple app to select any of these three categories and log in the time spent in increments of half an hour, the day that it was done, and an overall report. Just very simple. Now I'm done with the command. I'm going to hit start chat, and this is going to tell Replit what I want pretty much in everyday language. So let's hit that. And Replit is reading what I want and it's processing it. As you can see, it says working. I'll help you create a simple practice tracker app for piano singing and music making. Let me design a plan for this straightforward login application. So I was quite particular about telling it I didn't want to go over the top. I wanted it to be simple. Sometimes you have to give it very clear commands so that it doesn't go over the top, building a big old infrastructure that you don't need. So it says I'll include the following features: select practice category, log practice, date picker, practice history, overall summary report, clean musician friendly interface. And I'm going to say I'm okay with that. So I'm going to hit start now. Now, if you haven't already had experience with vibe coding in many of these other apps, you may not be aware of how the interfaces are. They're all very similar. On the right hand side, we have what's cooking, and on the left hand side, we have the chats, previous, and also anything else that the system wants to communicate to you will show up on the left. So this right hand side of the screen will be engaged for a little bit. And as it goes through the different steps in coding, it will show you on the screen what exactly it's thinking, what it's doing. And here it says configured, start application to run npm run dev, and sometimes it just shows you where it is in the process. For this kind of app, I wouldn't expect it to go beyond 3 to 5 minutes. It's a pretty simple app. What Replit does sometimes is it goes into its archives to find out if it has anything similar built, if it has any similar logic built, and it will draw on that experience, obviously, in helping deliver what you're asking for. So it says, I'll create a beautiful practice tracker for you. Let me build a high fidelity prototype with all the interactive components. And here on the right, it says, this is a visual preview of your application's building blocks. The agent is currently creating a fully interactive version. So we have piano, we have singing, we have music making. And you know, the funny thing is, Replit will not build the same way twice. It will not use exactly the same text twice. So you may ask it to do this in another application or on a different day. Obviously, in another application, you'll get a totally different design. And in this, even if you prompt the same prompt, but on a different day at a different time, maybe just 2 or 3 minutes later, don't expect it to do exactly the same thing. Because I have built this app in the past, and it looks significantly different from this, although it has some of the same features. And that's one of the joys of vibe coding. A lot of times, the output you get is as a result of your intentionality, your repetition, and your iterations. So just so you know, when you are vibe coding, there could be errors and bugs along the way, but that's okay. It knows how to correct itself and bring itself back on track. So now it says, I've created a visual preview of your app. If everything looks good to go, I can start building the functionality. So we got piano, we got singing, music making, we got the duration, we got the date, you can log it, we have the practice summary, which will show you a log of your total hours, and then we have the practice history. And I'm going to say that's cool. So I'm going to say build functionality. So it is following the laws and the ideas behind real coding, where you have a prototype. If the prototype looks good, it's not fully functional. In the world of coding, we could call it a minimum viable product or potentially shippable increment if it had enough functionality. But this is just a straight up prototype. Now, as you begin moving through your development process, you could introduce functionality in increments, thereby having a minimum viable product. And as time goes on, you could keep building on top of this, adding more and more functionality. But for now, we're fine with the minimum functionality. It's a minimum viable product. And of course, we could add more instruments. We could add saxophone, trombone. We could add a drop down to just select whatever you did. But this was just an idea that came to mind, and I wanted to use this to illustrate what exactly it could do. So anyway, it's assessed what's going on here. And as you vibe code, you want to pay close attention to not only the right is all the eye candy stuff, but you also want to pay attention to the left, because on the left, that's where you have the latest status, what is going on with your coding. Sometimes it could get stuck, it could get confused, and you as the vibe coder would need to debug it in some way by just clicking solve the problem, right? Or resolve, or whatever the pop-up says. Even when your app is fully developed, there are times you run into a bottleneck, and that shouldn't shock you, scare you, or surprise you. It's just the way software is. There could be an adjustment that happens in any affiliated system, and that could suddenly cause your app to not work. But what you would do in that instance is just tell the tool what's going on, what you're seeing. Sometimes you may need to take a screenshot and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. Because remember, it has computer vision. It has an understanding that is way above what computers back in the day had. Now, your computer is like having thousands of experts who know how to solve the problem. So be rest assured the problem will be solved. So it says, review the back-end and front-end implementation. It's pretty much like talking to itself. You don't have to take any action here, but the ideology behind vibe coding is you're vibing with the tool, and the tool is kind of chatting back to you if you understand coding to tell you, hey, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm doing, this is how much I have left. The cool thing about Replit is it has a lot of back-end functionalities that are integrated into your tool that if you were to publish it when it's done, it could just go ahead and publish straight up. Just publish your app and it would be live. And you can incorporate payment systems and many other tools that have APIs in the world of AI. They can be incorporated to this, such as running a report, sending a report to an email, all that stuff. All right, so it's moving quite well. It says I'm starting a browser to begin testing. So again, all the things that you would go through, doing all those black box tests or unit tests, while not as explicit as what a human might do, it could do many, many more runs and iterations than a human could in a short piece of time. So consider it to be a one-stop shop automated system to not only help you analyze, develop, all the code, but also to test and then to implement. So this is like your IT shop, all in a box, all on your computer. It is really amazing what vibe coding allows us to do as solopreneurs, entrepreneurs. Gone are the days when you would have an idea and you wouldn't know how to implement the app or the idea. Now the sky's the limit. What I'm doing here, mind you, you can see it's developed the browser and it's doing its tests. It's working. But what this is doing, you could also do in a tool, a common tool, such as Gemini.google.com. Gemini.google.com can create a similar app. However, the storage of the data would be another step you would need to take with Gemini. You would need like Firebase, which can be very extensive and quite laborious. And that's why if you're looking to create apps, I would recommend something like this. You also have Lovable. There are other apps, other systems that can help you develop. But since this was talked about during the conference, I wanted to present it. You can see that it's still working. It's still doing its... Okay. It's almost done with its testing. It said I've logged all 3 practice types. And it seems like it has succeeded in what it was doing. And it should be cleaning up the testing Once it's done with that, I'll take it for a test run and you'll see we built an app right in front of your face in Replit. And you can see it simulating what a user would do, putting in the text, entering it, and viewing it. Truly remarkable. And you can see it's coming to an end of its analysis. It says the Practice Tracker app passed all its main tests. You can log practice sessions for piano, singing, and music making. See them appear in your history, and your summary stats update correctly, blah, blah, blah. They're just two tiny things to note. Sometimes the success messages that pop up disappear too quickly to be checked by the system, and the page title has a little extra text. So you can see it is pretty detailed in giving you a report back on what happened. Your practice tracker is ready to use. Okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and let's get rolling. Now, the last thing here, it's telling you to go ahead and publish. But you know what's going to happen when you click on open publishing if you want it to publish? You need a subscription. So you can see a publishing button down here. It's trying to guide you on what to do next, because this app, you can play with it all day long within your own instance of Replit. But if you want to share it with the world, you gotta publish. And it's telling you upgrade your plan to publish. You get what I'm saying? So you gotta choose either the $25 or the $40 if you wanted to publish. Okay, and that is $25 per month. If you choose yearly, then it's $20 a month. And then you've got the higher option, the $35 for teams. Okay, let me make it a little bit bigger so you can see what you're paying for. So you've got all of these items. Okay, and nothing stops you from at least trying out one before looking to move to the other. Okay, you can always upgrade. All right, so with that understood, let's go back to preview. Okay, the top left, just you can toggle between publishing and preview. So here, this is preview. We're going to say we did piano for 1.5 hours, and it's logged. Don't even need to ask it to log. Let's use a different day. Let's say we did something on the 5th. Let's say we did singing and 2.5 hours, and boom, it's logged just like that. Now, I could go back and take a look at my history. Let's do the last one, music making. Let's say this happened on the 3rd, some time ago. Okay. And how many hours did I put in? Say I put in 3 hours. So that logs it, even without you pressing log practice session. Now, I could go back in and I could say, hey, you need to hit log practice session before it registers. Don't just register it because I clicked on 3 hours. You get what I'm saying? I could probe it like that. So I could say, using my inbuilt microphone, let's see, test. Okay, voice typer. Voice typer has gone on vacation. Try it again. All right. It's not listening. So I could just say log practice session seems to work without clicking on the button. Seems like duration button overrides log practice session. So you got to vibe with it. You know, this is what vibe coding is about. It's going back and forth. If I don't show you this, I wouldn't be telling you the true picture. See? So it says, you're right. The time selector buttons are accidentally submitting the form. Let me fix that. Those buttons need to be marked as type equal button so they don't trigger form submission. Decided on submission logic. Okay? And you can see it's still working. When it's working, I don't like interrupting it. I don't like clicking anything. I like it finishing its thoughts. Otherwise, you can have greater problems. So it's starting a browser again to test what has been developed and to see if it holds. So let's wait for it to finish. Now, something I should let you be aware of is even though it seems to have been following through with my commands, it's telling me, hey, you are approaching the starter plan usage limit. Upgrade for more. I've used 80% just with this tiny little app. So I want you to understand this is really just for you to understand how the tool works. You see, it says I've tested it. Everything's working correctly. So let's try again. Singing 2 hours. Good. It didn't submit it. Now I can log the singing on the day I actually did it. There you go. Good stuff. And the practice history is there. It shows me the date. Piano. Let's say I did 1.5 hours. And I can log when I did it. Boom. And that's how you develop an app in Replit. Now, publishing, once you publish it, all of the other things you need to do along with the publishing will be made very clear. Let's expand it so that you can see. Now, if someone was logging into this app on a computer, well, this is what it would look like. A fully functional app in minutes. Also, bear in mind, if you wanted to know what it would look like the difference between a computer and a phone, you can click on this. You could ask, okay, iPhone 17, what would it look like? And there we go. This is what it would look like. So it's a very solid system to show you when you're logging in on a phone or a tablet. Let's see. Pretty much just the phones here. So all these types of phones are full size. But nonetheless, that's it, my friends. On Replit, you can build and get your ideas working pretty swiftly. If you have any questions about this, drop me a comment below. Thank you for watching. And let's get back into more action from day 3.